Reporting live for you from beautiful Alpine, Wyoming. It is October 27th, 2017. This is Wake Up Wyoming. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've got a really, really big show today. Too much to cover, really, but we're going to try to. First and foremost, big news here in Freedom Town, aka Alpine. Huge party this Saturday at Melvin Brewing, the Mad Max style. Who run Buttertown Melvin Brewing Halloween party. Shannon, the taproom manager at Melvin's, got that place styled out. Probably one of the best Halloween parties of all time. So if you're around Alpine, if you like the best beer in the world, come on down to the taproom. Again, Melvin won Brewery Group of the Year and 2 gold medals at the Great American Beer Fest. Brewery Group because they have 2 breweries, one in Alpine, one in Jackson. And they're crushing it. So, get you some Halloween. Of course, Halloween, let's not forget where Halloween came from. It's a crazy pagan ritual from back in the day. This image here on the screen is the original Burning Man, okay? Human sacrifices. People wonder why I talk about depopulation like it's a distinct possibility, when if you look at the historical record, humans have been killing one another for a very long time. And, you know, back when religion was the most powerful force on the planet, human sacrifice was pretty common. Even things like the Spanish Inquisition, right? The Mayans did it. The Aztecs did it. The pagans of Europe did it. So, depopulation, human sacrifice, shit's real. That's all I got to say about that. Moving on, let's see what else do we got. I'm trying to cut the swear words out of my broadcast, and I need your help to do it. My mom told me she can't share my videos because I cuss. So if people would help me out and just let me know, maybe make like an X in the comments every time I swear. If somebody's got like a notepad, they can keep tabs. And I'm going to find myself 25 cents for every cuss word to be donated to charity. So if somebody out there in Viewerland can keep an eye on that for me, I would really appreciate it. What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Shannon Wandrick, sorry, Mom. That's right. Sorry, Mom. I love you so much. You know, part of the reason I'm a pretty good teacher is because my mom was such a great teacher. And, you know, she taught Catholic schools in, kindergarten, 2nd grade. She was one of those teachers that always had really fun props in her classroom. You know, every season she would decorate the classroom with a new, new theme and all that. And I've been trying to think of what I can add as props to the show. And I can only think of one thing to represent the military-industrial complex. Here it is. That's right, the military-industrial complex. Sorry, Mom. That's about it, right? You can either take it or leave it. But we'll be having some fun with the drill, though. That was part of a Halloween costume years ago. What should I be for Halloween? That's a question, too. I'm opening that up to viewers. Somebody suggested that. Also took into consideration your ideas that you'd rather not have the images or not have the articles take up the full screen because it's hard to read on a smartphone and all that. Jaylene, I hope you like the dildo there. That was part of a Halloween costume from years ago when I was, in fact, a Spanish-speaking gigolo named Drildo. Had way too much fun that year. Again, big Halloween party at Melvin this weekend. If you're near Freedom Town, come on out. Can't hype that one up enough because it's going to be a good time. But let's get into the show. Big news from the water protectors of Standing Rock. Here's a photo I took out of Standing Rock. That was right near the end of the occupation there, the peaceful prayer encampment at Standing Rock. Pretty kick-ass bonfire. You can see those lights. That's the police up on the skyline. But some of my friends from Standing Rock still getting after it out on the East Coast. This is Carla Colon, one of the ladies who bought my van for me. They still have yet to pay me for it, but I'm not going to hold it against them when they're out doing stuff like this. Check it out.
I can walk on my own 2 feet. I can walk on my own 2 feet. Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Oh! Brutal. So, yeah, Carla Colon getting roughed up by the cops. I'm proud of you, young water protectors, getting out there in support of clean water. Check out their stuff. Again, I'm hoping they'll pay me for the van eventually, but I ain't too stressed about it because I support clean water. And I hope you do too. In the era of depopulation. Yeah, brutal, huh? So, yeah, Carla Colon, mad props to you for being on the front line. Same with Micah and McKenna. Other news, nuts and bolts, we've got a big interview coming up next Thursday with Derek Bros of the Conscious Resistance. I met Derek out at Standing Rock as well. He's a guy who's had a lot of influence on me, and we got him on the line next Thursday. So that's really cool. Tune in here at Wake Up Wyoming. If you have any questions you want me to ask Derek Bros, let me know. Also, might have Carrie Wedler on the line. Carrie Wedler, editor-in-chief at the Anti-Media. If you have any questions you want me to ask her, keep those in mind. Send them to me in a private message because we get so many comments. You know, there'll be like 500 comments on this video. It's hard for me to read them all and keep it all in check. But I do appreciate all of you commenting. It's just hard to get to them all. It's great to see the community here at Wake Up Wyoming so vocal, so active, so many people getting it done, so to speak, and speaking their minds in the comments. I love y'all. Thank you so much for being there. But so yeah, we got Derek Bros next Thursday, Carrie Wedler coming up here real soon. More interviews for you. And Rice Farmer, the indomitable Rice Farmer, no shortage of news links here. Okay. M. Sammy Khan says, I want you to say something about Pakistan. I got good news for you, M. Sammy Khan. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. We've got another interview in the pipeline with a young man on the ground in Pakistan. M. Sammy Khan, if you want to get interviewed about Pakistan, you want to share your story about Pakistan, get a webcam set up, add me as a friend, send me a personal message, and I'll put you on the air. We'll get you here with the Wake Up Wyoming crew. So that's that. But Rice Farmer, no shortage of news for us today. Wow, Rice Farmer, the indomitable Rice Farmer, one of the best researchers in the game. Check out ricefarmer.blogspot.com if you want to know what's really going on in the world, because he's got it on lockdown. Big story today. The DoD plans solar storm-based national blackout drill during the Antifa protests in November. Okay, look at this image. This kind of says it all right here. Boom. A simulated EMP attack against the United States. Okay, let me read this to you. According to the National Association of Amateur Radio, National Association for Amateur Radio, elements of the U.S. Department of Defense will simulate a communications interoperability training exercise across the United States, November 4th to 6th. Okay, this Antifa action, I believe, is scheduled for the 5th. Correct me if I'm wrong. The announcement, released on October 24th, has not been widely distributed to the media because the drill is simulating a total grid collapse and could spark public fear. So, what else? Explained by Army Mars Program Manager Paul English, this exercise will begin with a national massive coronal mass ejection event, which will impact the national power grid, as well as all forms of traditional communication, including landline telephone, cell phone, satellite, and internet connectivity. Okay, so we don't know exactly what's going to happen here, but if the lights go out on November 4th through 6th, or if we have communications difficulties, there is already this pre-planned exercise, this pre-planned drill. Of course, we know how drills tend to coincide with actual events, right? At the Boston bombing, they had a drill where they were looking at a potential bombing, right? 9/11, they had a drill that sent all the air interceptor fighter jets off over the Arctic Circle, so they could not respond to the reports of these planes, right? So who knows what's going to happen with this Antifa stuff, but just a heads up, don't freak out, don't lose your shit. But, you know, if you've been slacking off, you don't have at least a couple weeks worth of food stored up at your house, might be a good time to do that. And if you don't have a contingency plan for how to deal with the lights and power going out for a long time, you might want to think up on that too. I don't know what's going to happen, but we're keeping an eye on it here at Wake Up Wyoming. Moving on. This is stranger than fiction. Oh, come on. This robot named Sophia spoke at Saudi Arabia's Future Investment Initiative. Okay. And what's hilarious, here's the robot Sophia, right? Looking good, Sophia. But what's crazy, this robot, they gave the Saudi government, the Saudi royal family, gave this robot citizenship to Saudi Arabia. Does that mean this robot's able to vote? I don't know, but that's what happened at the Saudi Arabia Future Investment Initiative Conference. Can't even make this stuff up. So we'll get rid of that nonsense. I don't know, just strange. The JFK file release, this has been big, right? Coming out of the Washington Post. The AP explains some JFK files will remain secret for now. Of course, they're not going to release anything that links the JFK assassination to the people that actually did it, right? That would be too damning for the government. Of course, we already know that JFK was murdered by factions of his own government. Okay, great quotes from JFK talking about the importance of transparency and the opposition he had towards secret societies. He was opposed to the CIA. He was opposed to Operation Northwoods. He was opposed to the United States entering the Vietnam War. These are just historical facts. I'm going to show you something here to prove that I'm not just crazy. This is an ABC News article from May 1st, 2001. The U.S. military wanted to provoke war with Cuba. Okay, I'll read that to you. In the early 1960s, America's top military leaders reportedly drafted plans to kill innocent people and commit acts of terrorism in U.S. cities to create public support for a war against Cuba. Codenamed Operation Northwoods, the plans reportedly included the possible assassination of Cuban officials, sinking boats of Cuban refugees on the high seas, hijacking planes, blowing up a U.S. ship, or even orchestrating violent terrorism in U.S. cities. Sound familiar? The plans were developed as ways to trick the American public and the international community into supporting a war to oust Cuba's then new leader, communist Fidel Castro. America's top military brass even contemplated causing U.S. military casualties, writing, "We could blow up a U.S. ship in Guantanamo Bay and blame Cuba, and casualty lists in U.S. newspapers would cause a helpful wave of national indignation." Details of the plans are described in Body of Secrets by Doubleday, a new book by investigative journalist James Bamford about the history of America's largest spy agency, the NSA. However, the plans were not connected to the agency, he notes. Now, for that, we have to thank the CIA. The plans had the written approval of all of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and were presented to President Kennedy's Defense Secretary, Robert McNamara, in March of 1962. But they apparently were rejected by the civilian leadership, aka JFK, and have gone undisclosed for the next 40 years. Okay, again, this is an ABC News article from 2001. You want to know why JFK got assassinated? It's because he was opposed to the military-industrial complex that FDR warned us about, right? He was opposed to the CIA. He was opposed to the Bush crime family, right? He was opposed to the people who had plotted a fascist, literally Nazi takeover of the United States and tried to use General Smedley Butler, who blew the whistle on that back in the 1930s, okay? JFK, also interestingly, JFK is the guy who openly acknowledged in front of the UN back in 1962 that he was proposing further cooperative efforts between all nations in weather prediction and eventually in weather control. What do we have today? We live in the world of weather weapons and geoengineering. So, Bada bing, bada bang, bada boom. Rest in peace, JFK. You know, I'm not going to take the time to go digging through all these documents because I already know pretty much everything I need to know about the JFK assassination. Remember, JFK, I will splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it into the winds. Boom. Moving along. What else do we got going on today? Yeah, coming out of activist posts. Speaking of the media, well, here we'll get into a little media here. Coming out of the Gateway Pundit, corrupt media update. Evening News spent 1,000 minutes on the Trump-Russia story and 20 seconds on the Hillary-Russia story. Okay, the story about the Clintons, both Bill and Hillary, dealing with the Russians through backdoor deals involving uranium a long time ago. Of course, the media is full of it, right? Unfortunately, the independent media being censored. Coming out of activist post posted yesterday, YouTube terminated our unblemished channel without warning. Derek Bros, who we've got on the show next Thursday, is one of the most prolific writers over there at Activist Post. So show some support for them. Long story short, their YouTube channel was completely deleted with the message, this account has been terminated due to multiple or severe violations of YouTube's policy against spam, deceptive practices, and misleading content or other terms of service violations. Okay, this was covered by RT News. YouTube denied their appeal to restore the channel. And what are they doing? They've moved to BitChute. Okay, check out BitChute. BitChute is a pretty cool video platform. If you're not signed up there yet, do check it out. I just started my own BitChute channel. So get on there, subscribe to Activist Post, subscribe to Max Mogren, and let's keep pushing forward. Despite the efforts of the mainstream to suppress information. Another great article from the Activist Post published yesterday. The U.S. government targets homegrown extremists in broad surveillance. Thanks, Uncle Sam, you piece of shit. The U.S. government has increased its physical and digital surveillance to now include a broad definition of homegrown violent extremists in the Department of Defense's manual, which isn't clearly defined, Reuters reported. The change actually happened last year, blah, blah, blah. Obama put it in. They're keeping it going. But it raises particular legal concerns that the feds will use this mandate to skirt laws that protect citizens. Obama's DHS didn't hesitate to call those who might believe in conspiracy theories potential right-wing terrorists. What if you're not right-wing? Stating the following points might make someone a terrorist in a study by the University of Maryland, which was funded in part by DHS. Americans who are fiercely nationalistic as opposed to universal and international in orientations. Americans who consider themselves anti-global, aka anti-globalist, anti-one world government, anti-old world order, all that business. Americans who are suspicious of centralized federal authority. Americans who are reverent of individual liberty, especially their right to own guns and be free of taxes, and Americans exhibiting a belief in conspiracy theories that involve grave threat to national sovereignty and or personal liberty, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, if you believe that article that ABC News published in May of 2001, openly acknowledging that the corrupt elements of the intelligence community and military-industrial complex were planning all the way back in the 1960s, Operation Northwoods, to commit false flag attacks against Americans and Cubans to prompt a war with Cuba, well, then you're a terrorist in modern America. So there it is. That, my friends, the military-industrial complex, giving it to you right up the poop chute. That's all I got to say about that. Sorry if you find this offensive. Let me know. If not, I'm just going to keep it going because it's kind of fun. Might as well make light of a frustrating and disgusting situation. Moving along here, there's this big fire. Have you guys heard about this big fire out in West Virginia? Questions swirling around a massive days-long warehouse fire in West Virginia. It's been burning since last Saturday. The mainstream media hasn't really been covering it too hardcore, but basically there's all sorts of, look at this thing. It's huge, and people in the area are reporting some serious health problems because this warehouse was filled with toxic chemicals. Okay, DuPont's been linked to the warehouse, but they're denying it. Basically, it sounds like a company was using this massive warehouse in West Virginia to store a bunch of toxic shit that they couldn't dispose of properly. And they'd already had multiple instances where they were called out for the unsafe conditions in this warehouse and the unsafe practices, negligent practices. They recently were fined $80,000. So it kind of looks like they torched it just to get rid of it. Again, people are expressing their concerns because this thing is making people sick. So that's a real bummer. We'll try to get you more info about this warehouse fire in West Virginia. But here's an example. This is what it looks like inside that warehouse. Okay, check it out. These are some older images, but this is like the stuff they had stored in there. Just piles and piles, boxes of stuff, drums full of various chemicals that they couldn't get rid of. It was like these people were basically running a huge above ground garbage dump for various chemical companies, and now that puppy's on fire. Okay, a lot of people reporting sickness there. In August, the DEP, that's the Department of Environmental Pollution down there in West Virginia, ordered IEI, that's the company that owns the warehouse, to pay the remaining $60,000 in fines for violations at the warehouse that's now burning, after the company did not file its water pollution reports in a timely fashion. So basically, these people were on the line. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how much they're going to get paid from insurance on this thing. Moving along. One of the brothers of the Las Vegas shooters alleged Las Vegas shooter has been arrested on child porn charges. Okay, this is Bruce Paddock, not Eric Paddock, but this guy kind of looks like the sort of guy who'd own some child porn, no doubt about it. But it's interesting how this is making national news. And it's funny now when you Google, Paddock's brother, this is the guy that comes up. The Eric Paddock guy, the guy who gave those crazy interviews, is kind of, he's out of the news cycle now. Why right now is this guy going down for child porn charges? I don't know. Maybe he was talking about the situation. Maybe he was calling into question the official story. But it's important to note here, the mainstream media so full of shit that they don't even say alleged. Okay? We all know there's some serious questions, some serious inconsistencies surrounding the Las Vegas shooting. But this is how the mainstream media works. They just, what happened to innocent until proven guilty in the United States? What happens to a real investigation? At the JFK assassination, there's good evidence that there were as many as 8 gunmen. And at the Las Vegas shooting, there's evidence of multiple gunmen as well. But the official story, they come up with all these accessory stories that regurgitate the same tired narrative. Then they don't even include the word alleged in here, right? It's just, this guy did it. He was a lone wolf. Case closed. Game over. Have some more Kool-Aid, America. Go back to sleep. So that's sad. Moving along to some business news coming out of Wolf Street. The EU just did big banks a massive favor. Testimony in the iron grip of the financial industry's lobby still exerts on governments and legislators. Well, no doubt the financial industry lobby exerts these pressures because the financial industry runs the show, right? Elections bring in the next set of stuffed suits, the next set of talking heads. But the people that have all the money and thus all the power are the large international banking conglomerates, the central banks. And the EU's executive arm, the European Commission, made a lot of bank executives very happy this Tuesday by abandoning its pledge to break up too big to fail lenders. Despite the huge risk they still pose to Europe's rickety financial system, big European banks like Deutsche Bank, Santander, etc., can breathe a large sigh of relief this week in the knowledge that they will not have to split their retail units from their riskier investment banking arms. Breaking up the banks would remove much of the risk from today's government-backed banks, such as derivatives and other instruments that were heavily involved in the financial crisis. Without these hedge fund and investment banking activities, even large banks would be smaller, less interconnected, and could be allowed to fail without jeopardizing the entire global financial system. Okay, too big to fail. Too big to fail. Meaning they get bailed out while we get sold out. Yeah. Moving along, our petrocurrencies headed for extinction, coming out of oil price. You know, the currency thing's a big deal. Petrocurrencies are breaking away from the traditional tight link to oil prices. But all it would take for this link to return is for prices to fall below their current range. That means currencies are losing value faster than oil is. This seems to be the general consensus among the bankers interviewed by Bloomberg's Natasha Doff and Anna Adrianova. Moving along here, China is getting ready to unleash its plan for a gold-backed, gold-centric monetary system, right? The Petro Yuan. We'll see what happens there. Keeping an eye on it here at Wake Up Wyoming for you. Again, this China Silk Road, this new thing. If you haven't been following this is a huge initiative, the Belt and Road Project. As we see this Rohingya Muslim in Myanmar refugee crisis being hyped up in the mainstream, the U.S. is gonna try to use that to justify more military presence in China's sphere of influence, right? So we'll see what happens there, but that's what's going on. Bloomberg covering this, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens in China. So we're covering that, keeping an eye on that for you. Speaking of currencies, you know, the cryptocurrency thing's hot in the news. And these guys, this published 2 days ago at Zero Hedge. We built a 1,000-year cryptocurrency, and it works on multiple blockchains. Jeff Garczyk's startup Block is launching a new cryptocurrency which can switch between currencies. So this should be interesting to see what pans out with this one. Keep an eye on Block if you play the cryptos, because this could be a big deal. I wonder how the cryptocurrencies are doing these days. Let's take a look. Going over to CoinGecko.com, which gives me a nice interface. Again, I don't really recommend going all into cryptos. You know, it could be a Trojan horse. Some people think it's the solution to all of our problems. I don't know. I'm not sure. Let's see. Bitcoin is down. It was at like 6,100, so it's down 300. Ethereum's been hovering around 300 for a long time. Litecoin, same thing, hovering between 45, 55. There are so many cryptocurrencies. The whole thing, there's hundreds of them, literally. It's hilarious. So I don't know what's going to happen here. I don't know exactly what cryptos are all about. But Derek Bros is going to be on the show next Thursday, and hopefully he can fill us in, give us his perspective, because he's a lot more bullish on cryptos and the belief that they might be able to solve our problems with the financial system. In other news, perhaps good news, this beautiful young prime minister in New Zealand is banning foreigners from buying houses there. All over the world, notably in Canada, house prices are through the roof. You know, real estate markets are inflated. New Zealand seems to be doing a lot to get their own house in order. Any beautiful women out there, perhaps the prime minister, want an American husband? Hit me up, please. I would love to get down to Lord of the Rings country and just post up there and do my show from a relatively safe location compared to here in Führer Trump's America. Other good news, transparent solar panels could harvest energy from windows and eventually replace fossil fuels. Great, let's do that. You know, we don't need fossil fuels. That's something we've been harping on forever. If you're not familiar with Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower, an ionospheric energy generator, basically creates a permanent lightning strike from the upper atmosphere, generating unlimited free electrical power for all of humanity. Of course, it was shut down because it wasn't profitable or controllable. Again, Wardenclyffe built 125 years ago. So tell your friends, you know, anytime you read something about the wars for oil and the importance of going to war for whatever reason. You know, they fight for, what do they fight for? They fight for God, gold, oil, and drugs, right? But we don't really need oil. Drugs are stupid, like the opium crisis. We're going to get into that in the Jackson Hole Daily. You know, drugs aren't the answer to anybody's problems. And gold, what is gold really good for at the end of the day? Can't eat it. I guess it's a good electrical conductor, but not compared to silver. What else do I got here before we get into the Jackson Hole Daily? Corey Feldman's Truth Campaign. That's right. Corey Feldman's Truth Campaign is going through the roof. He's raised $135,903 from 2,814 backers to make a movie and get some private security. Corey, you know, we appreciate you going after Hollywood pedos. We appreciate you going after the casting couch. But there are a lot of big issues out there, bro. And if you raise $10 million, that's not going to protect you, man. Just come out and name the names. You know, get a smartphone going. If you got a smartphone, you can make a viral YouTube video, Mr. Feldman. Christopher Green at AMTV has done some great coverage on this. It's like, just come out, dude. Nobody needs a theatrical Hollywood-produced movie about this situation. We just need the information out there. The independent media can take it from there. And inspired by Corey Feldman's efforts there, I have started the Core Newsmen's Truth Campaign, where we're going to raise $10 million. You know, this is kind of a spoof, but I actually have raised $27 here, thanks to Tacoma Vaught out there in Sonoma County. His house didn't burn down. He's a great dude, old dear friend that I met through Michael C. Rupert back there in California. But inspired by him and putting it into perspective, if we raise $10 million through this campaign, we can fund 100 independent journalists, a team of, you know, journalists, web developers, social media experts, editors, videographers, live streamers, you know, what you need to have a real legitimate news organization. Well, we can pay those 100 independent people $100 per day for 1,000 work days, right? You really want to solve the problems in this country. You really want to address all the issues. You really want to expose the lies of the mainstream media. Support the free press. I put together, one sec. You know how they always mark the AP articles with AP, right? It's like Associated Press, and it has the tagline. Well, if we had the tagline FP, aka the FP, for the free press, that would sure be helpful. Then people would know it's coming from a pretty reliable source. Free press, FP greater than AP, because the AP equals BS. That pretty much sums it up. So if you got an extra 10 million around, pony up, hand it over. Again, $10 million can buy us 100 real journalists for 1,000 legit work days at $100 per journalist per day, or you could give it to Corey Feldman and he can use it to make one film about Hollywood's creepy casting couch. Again, I don't mean to, I'm in no way, you know, I hope Corey Feldman gets that money. I hope that the American citizens care enough about this issue that they can pony up $10 million for Corey Feldman. But at the same time, you know, sexual abuse of all kinds, especially sexual abuse of children, is very, very serious. Right? Very serious. It damages children's lives and creates wounds that never heal. So it's a huge deal. And the pedophilia in Hollywood, in DC, in the halls of power is disgusting. Right? On top of that, the fact that all these creepy pedophiles are put into positions of power makes them controllable. Like we're seeing with Paddock's brother, right? He's not going to talk about anything because he's too busy fighting allegations of child pornography. Anybody within the establishment that steps out of line and is also into this creepy shit can be very easily brought back into line. So we're opposed to pedophilia, but we got a lot of other issues out there, notably poisoned food, poisoned water, geoengineering, chemtrails of all kinds, the endless wars, the corruption of the media as a whole, the mainstream media as a whole, not just Hollywood, the corruption of the political process, censorship of the independent media online, the global banking cartel, right? There are a lot of big issues out there. So, pony up your 10 million if you got it. Remember, friends, the truth is no longer hidden. People are hiding from the truth. All right, we're getting into the Jackson Hole Daily now that I've said my spiel there. So let's get into it. Where's my paper? Bam. Okay. Here we go. Jackson Hole Daily. The paper servicing the wealthiest county per capita in the United States of America. So it's a real big deal. Huge deal. Can't stress it enough what a big deal this newspaper is, because this is what the billionaire bankster tax evaders read when they're on vacation at their multi-million-dollar log cabins while pretending they live in Wyoming to evade taxes, driving up real estate prices, kicking working class and ski bums like myself out of Jackson Hole, and basically ruining the community, right? It's a beautiful, dynamic mountain town, but you bring in a bunch of stiffs and takes all the fun out of it. There's actually a really good political cartoon in here today that kind of makes my point for me. I'm going to see if I can find it, because it's good to see the local media here stepping up their game. Maybe have an old Moggy here nipping at their heels, calling them out when, giving some real honest, constructive criticism might make the local media here a little more on point. Again, as far as newspapers go, the Jackson Hole Daily is a pretty good one. Of course, it's full of lies and omissions from the Associated Prostitutes. And it's 70% advertising, 20% fluff, and only 10% actual news. But they do a pretty good job compared to other newspapers. This is Jackson's scariest Halloween costume. What does it say? I'm going as a square corporate drone with a mortgage and 1 week of vacation a year, right? None of us wants to be that guy. That's why I'm doing Wake Up Wyoming. I'm tired of working a slave job. I would rather build this community with all of you and get it going as part of the real independent media. Daniel Reichert calling it the Beverly Hills of Wyoming. Pretty much sums it up. April Bosa, sorry I mispronounced your name. Thank you for donating on Patreon. We might as well get into that a little. If anybody doesn't know yet, in addition to trying to raise 10 million, I'm such a greedy bastard. I'm just doing this for the money, because as you can see here, I'm already making a whopping $315 per month here at Wake Up Wyoming. Thanks to my 8 patrons. I'm going to take this opportunity right now before we get into the Jackson Hole Daily to thank them. April Bosa, whose name I'm mispronouncing, just ponied up yesterday. Thank you. Marta Lyall, Edward Bossier, Irene the Lion, like Zion from Canada, Evan Simpson out of Jackson Hole, Zachary Coons from Wake Up News. Hoping to get him on camera here real soon. Any of the patrons, too. You want me to interview you? Let's do it. David Coco Rico, the richest coconut of all. Brian Peterson. Madam X promises me she's getting on there. Tacoma out of Sonoma, ponying up on the Core Newsman's Truth Campaign, giving me the first $27 of the 10 million we're shooting for. And mysterious Mountain Mama Jill up in Montana contributing via PayPal. So thank you so much to all of you for that. We're getting into the daily now. Sorry, I got to throw my little spiel in there because I got bills to pay. I got mouths to feed. And, I like to enjoy my life too. I don't like being controlled by money any more than you do. The local elementary school has chosen cougars as their mascot. That's pretty cool. No shortage of cougars up in Jackson Hole, especially of the older female human variety. Foes are saying pull the plug on this video game. This is kind of cool. I should have downloaded the game, but check this out. Traverse City, Michigan, the Associated Prostitutes reporting. A video game developed by a Michigan State University assistant professor supports eco-terrorism by enabling players to zap imaginary oil pipelines with lightning bolts. An industry group said Wednesday, although the designer countered that it's not meant to incite violence. Okay, the water protectors like Carlo, who we saw getting tackled by the cops out there on the East Coast, They'll get a kick out of this video game. Thunderbird Strike is based on an indigenous cultural figure called a Thunderbird, says Elizabeth LaPense, who led the project. It traces the bird's path through areas of Canada and Michigan where oil production and transport have inspired protests. Understandably, since the youth knows we don't need to be investing any more money in fossil fuels. It's the dumbest thing possible. Players can earn points by firing lightning at snake-like pipelines, trucks, and other oil industry structures. It can be downloaded from a website that says players will protect the earth with searing lightning against the snake that threatens to swallow the lands and waters whole. Okay, that's important to note. Lightning bolt's kind of funny. Like I said, Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower that could have got us off fossil fuels 125 years ago involved a permanent lightning strike. Zeus throws down lightning bolts too. And in the era of geoengineering and weather warfare, the possibility of using lightning as a weapon is all too real. The military-industrial complex has that capability. Additionally, to good old-fashioned lightning, artificially induced, they have directed energy weapons, which are basically the same thing. So, Thunderbird Strike coming out of Michigan. I'd say download that game and see if it's any good. Let your kids play it. If your kids are addicted to tablets and things already, at least give them a game that's got a halfway decent message behind it, right? But yeah, we don't need to be investing any more money in fossil fuels. That's why I went out to Standing Rock. A lot of fluffy stuff here. A workshop to educate backcountry travelers. This is important in Jackson Hole. A lot of people die in avalanches out here. I hope to never be one of them. I'll be doing a lot of broadcasts from out on the slopes this winter. I can promise you that. Bringing you along for some ride-alongs, for some backcountry ski adventures, God willing. So that should be a lot of fun. But the workshop will be at 8:30 a.m. Saturday at the Center for the Arts. Tickets are $40. I don't know why they're charging for this, but tickets are $40. And you can come and go as you like. So that's nice. They want your money, but you're free to come and go as you like throughout the day. So that's this Saturday. Funny article here. Again, we always address this, that the Republicans and the Democrats are two wings on the same bird, right? Well, the GOP is getting blamed for the gutting of forest thinning rules. Of course, the Democrats up in arms. But what's the gist of this? They're making it easier to thin the forests, aka cut down a whole bunch of trees, turn them into paper for things like the Jackson Hole Daily. Huge waste of paper, by the way, the newspaper. It's absurd. Yeah, they're using the recent wildfires as justification to loosen environmental regulations for forest thinning projects on federal lands. That means more logging. You got a problem with forest fires? Well, what do? What's the American approach? Just get rid of the forests. Problem solved. So that's sad. But what can you do? Again, the California fires, a lot of people raising red flags about that because there's all this unusual footage. I'm going to drop an image in here just because it's so shocking. A lot of people are reporting strange instances like this where houses are completely destroyed while the greenery behind them is still intact. You see cars that are totally torched out. Wow. The power lines right there seem to be okay, and that whole vineyard seems to be okay. The fire didn't jump that road, that's for sure. So what caused that fire? What caused that car to just get utterly torched to the point where the aluminum alloy wheels melted? That melts at about 1,400 degrees Fahrenheit. The glass usually melts around 2,600 degrees Fahrenheit. And you can see the steel frame even a little bit warped there. We had Richard Gage on the show the other day. The images of the California fires, like what causes a car to flip like that and get torched to the point where it's all burned up. Pretty wild. And, I don't know. We can't draw conclusive or conclusions about forest fires in California, but it's important to note from here on out, whenever you see a forest fire, keep an eye on what's really going on, Be really cool to get people on the ground as these fires break out, people documenting what's really happening there. Okay, so moving along from that story, here's actually a heartwarming story out of the Jackson Hole Daily. A Utah runner, he hauled his hurt teammate across the finish line in the state cross-country meet down in Utah. This kid fell, broke his tibia within the last couple hundred meters of the race. His buddy stopped, picked him up, put him on his shoulders, and carried him to the end. They both got disqualified. Again, it was a state meet. That's a big deal for a high school kid. So pretty cool to see these kids behaving honorably down there in Utah. We got lots of fluff, lots of advertising. Trump finally declaring a opioid emergency in the U.S., right? I lost 2 friends to opioids last winter. They say 65,000 Americans die from opioid or drug overdoses annually. But a lot of people that die from drug overdoses, it doesn't get reported as such because it's embarrassing as fuck. There's a quarter. I owe a quarter for cussing. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Mom. Yeah, how many people really die due to drug overdoses? That's the question here. Because a lot of times when people die from an opioid overdose or a cocaine overdose, it's officially logged as unknown or natural causes or a heart attack or whatever. There's 1,000 things people can die from. 1,000 things can show up on a death certificate. A lot more people than just 65,000 are dying from drug overdoses annually in the U.S. So Trump finally calling it an emergency. In ringing in personal terms, President Trump on Thursday pledged that we will overcome addiction in America, declaring opioid abuse a national public health emergency and announcing new steps to combat what he described as the worst drug crisis in U.S. history. Okay, where did this drug crisis arise from? Well, most of the opioids on the planet are grown in Afghanistan. Think about it. We invaded Afghanistan in 2001 because the Taliban, who were our homies there growing all the drugs for us, decided they were tired of that and made it illegal, burned all the fields. So we invaded. Now Afghanistan grows over 90% of the world's opium. This has turned into opioids, painkillers, sold legally by the pharmaceutical companies, by the medical doctors. Yay, good work, docs. Way to protect Americans' health. Trump's declaration, which will be effective for 90 days and can be renewed, allows the government to redirect resources in various ways and to expand access to medical services in rural areas. But it won't bring new dollars to fight a scourge that kills nearly 100 Americans per day. Okay, if they're going to expand access to medical services in rural areas, that just sounds like maybe they're going to make more opioids available to people that couldn't get them otherwise. I don't know. Deaths have surged from opioids, which include some prescribed painkillers, heroin, and synthetic drugs such as fentanyl. Okay, anybody out there, you do what you want. You put whatever you want into your body, but just know you're playing with fire if you start fucking around. Another quarter. If you start fucking around, that's 75 cents, with opioids, you're taking your life into your own hands because this fentanyl shit, that's $1, is 50 times more potent than normal heroin. So you shoot up that or you smoke that, your normal dose. And how do you know if it's in your, how do you know you didn't get a bad batch? How do you know you didn't get a batch that's laced with this crap? You don't until it might be too late. So please don't mess with opioids of any kind. Administration officials said they also would urge Congress during end-of-year budget negotiations to add new cash to a public health emergency fund that hasn't been replenished for years. It contains just $57,000. But critics said Thursday's words weren't enough. How can you say it's an emergency if we're not going to put a new nickel towards it? Said Dr. Joseph Parks, medical director of the nonprofit National Council for Behavioral Health, which advocates for addiction treatment providers. As far as moving the money around, that's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. Trump said he hoped a massive advertising campaign, which sounded reminiscent of the 1980s Just Say No campaign, might have a similar impact. We can teach young people and people generally not to start. It's really, really easy not to take them, said Trump. Yeah, unless your doctor prescribes them to you. Democrats took the opportunity to criticize Trump's efforts to repeal and replace former President Barack Obama's health care law, noting that its Medicaid expansion has been crucial in confronting the opioid epidemic since it pays for detox and long-term treatment. Of course, health insurance also pays for the opioids in question. So, I don't know. But I do know that the biggest drug pusher on the planet is our dear old bastard Uncle Sam. Again, when we go to war, what are they fighting for? They're doing it for freedom, justice, democracy. Now they're doing it for God. God being gold, oil, and drugs, right? Don't even get me started. If you haven't seen the movie, what's it called? You haven't seen the movie American Made yet? They glorify this guy who was running drugs, running cocaine back in the 80s for the CIA. The movie glorifies it. It's like this guy's got a hot wife. He's making a bunch of money. He's having all these kooky, wild adventures, having so much fun. And what's he doing? He's bringing cocaine into Mena, Arkansas, where Bill Clinton, as governor, overlooked it, made a whole bunch of money off of being one of the many places where cocaine was flooding into our nation. Then we had the national crack cocaine epidemic, which decimated the inner city, notably African-American, black communities in the inner city. My old boss, Mike Rupert, blew the whistle on this shit back in the, that's at $1.25. Blew the whistle on these horrible programs all the way back in the mid-1970s. Okay, it's been going on for a long time. Even the British Empire was running heroin back in the day. That was the #1 product for the East India Tea Company, right? There was heroin on the American frontier back in the 1860s. People have been running heroin for a real long time. The opioid epidemic, you know, Uncle Sam's trying to make a buck. Healthcare keeps the economy flowing. Trump holds back some JFK files, others released. Okay, why can't they release all the files about JFK? Because the CIA, the government, killed the guy. We covered that already today. President signs a $36.5 billion emergency aid bill for disasters. Puerto Rico is not getting very much of it. Again, absurdly, how much? The current measure would permit FEMA to allocate up to $5 billion to assist Puerto Rico's central government and various municipalities dealing with a cash crisis, right? The island's electrical grid has been mostly destroyed and remains about 75% without power, okay? And obviously Puerto Rico deep in debt. You know, it's funny, they always talk about, like, Trump's like, oh, we can't help Puerto Rico. The government says, we can't help Puerto Rico because they're $74 billion in debt. Dude, the United States of America is $20 trillion in debt. Hello, double standards much? But even, you know, equally absurd, part of the aid package to Puerto Rico is a $300 million contract to turn the lights back on, to get the power grid running again. Okay, this contract was given to a company called Whitefish Energy in Whitefish, Montana, that had 2 employees on the day that Hurricane Maria struck Puerto Rico, September 19th, 2017. Today is October 27th, and 75% of the island is still without power. Perhaps it's by design. Like, go figure. It turns out hiring 2 guys in rural Montana, in Whitefish, Montana, a town of 8,000 people, literally thousands of miles away from Puerto Rico, hiring 2 guys to oversee fixing the power grid there, paying these people $300 million, maybe that's not the most efficient or effective way to get the power back on. So it seems like this whole situation in Puerto Rico has been orchestrated. Of course, if you don't have electricity, you can't really run an economy, right? Puerto Rico already deep in debt, already struggling. 3.4 million Americans live on the territory of Puerto Rico, but a lot of them are leaving because they can't make any money. They can barely get access to food, let alone clean water or electricity. Okay, Puerto Rico getting fucked. That's $1.50 I owe now by the government intentionally. Another twist to that story, Secretary of the Interior Ryan Zinke is from Whitefish, Montana, and he grew up with the guys that run Whitefish Energy. So perhaps they were given this $300 million contract because they're homies with Zinke. And perhaps the government, the federal government, $20 trillion in debt, is holding Puerto Rico $74 billion in debt, holding Puerto Rico's feet to the fire and crashing their economy intentionally so they can cause a mass exodus of American citizens in Puerto Rico, provide no shortage of desperate people on the American continent that are looking for cheap jobs. That's going to drive down wages. I have no beef with the people of Puerto Rico that are just trying to put food on their families' tables. I have no beef with people that are just trying to scrape by to get by. But the point is, if you have, let's say you have 1 million or 2 million Puerto Ricans are forced to leave their homes because they can't afford to live there anymore, they're going to come here. They're going to need jobs. That drives down wages here, plain and simple, right? So our hearts go out to the people of Puerto Rico. I feel terrible that y'all are still dealing with this. I can't believe you're still without electricity. 75% of the island without electricity more than a month after the hurricane hit. And the hurricane wasn't really that bad. If you look at the pictures, most of the power lines in Puerto Rico are still standing. Okay, most of the trees in Puerto Rico didn't have all the leaves blown off the branches. You want to see a really, truly devastating hurricane? Look at the situation on the island of Dominica, where Storm Cloud's gathering is. We interviewed him a couple days ago. That is a real, legit hurricane. Puerto Rico got messed up, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. But there's no good reason why the power isn't on yet on that island. Imagine what would have happened. What if Houston was out without power after Hurricane Harvey hit? What if Florida was still without power after Hurricane Irma hit? So what makes Puerto Rico so special? Yeah, it's an island, but there's 3.4 million Americans living there, and the whole situation stinks. By the way, Puerto Rico is a tax haven, international tax haven. So my guess is a lot of Puerto Ricans are going to have to leave. The billionaire banksters of the planet are going to swoop in and buy up all that primo Paradise Island real estate for pennies on the dollar. Hopefully the Puerto Ricans that stick around don't take it. But that's it right there. The military-industrial complex, putting it up your poop chute. Again, remember, we live in the era of geoengineering. We live in the era of weather warfare. These hurricanes that affected Florida, Texas, mainland Mexico, all these Caribbean islands, the Central American countries of Costa Rica and Nicaragua could have been weakened, could have been steered away from land. And instead, it looks like these hurricanes were spawned, were steered, were strengthened, and were used as weapons. It's called disaster capitalism, kind of like conventional war in the sense that the little guy gets screwed. Saved myself a quarter there. And the government gets, the military-industrial complex makes a whole lot of money off it. Consolidates wealth and power in the hands of the people who are doing the screwing. Here we go. What's this little nugget here? The U.S. Air Force says its tweet declaring Santa Claus isn't real was just a bluff, part of a threat to steal Christmas from 2 feuding air bases. Your tax dollars at work. Minot Air Base in North Dakota and Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri jostled on Twitter about which fleet was better. Air Force account responded. KFGO radio reported that the official Air Force account responds. This is the Air Force. This is the United States Air Force. They're playing little games on Twitter with your tax dollars. They're sitting there just fucking around. It's $1.75. Responded that if the bases couldn't get along, Santa wouldn't bring you nothing this year because he ain't real. After the tweet generated widespread ridicule, the Air Force reversed itself. It declared Santa is in fact real and that the previous message was just an attempt to get the bases in line. Okay, so there's your military arguing about the finer points of Santa Claus. It's important to note, though, like, why do we lie to little kids about Santa, the Tooth Fairy, all this shit? $2. Why do we lie to little kids right from the time they first learn anything? You give them all these weird mythical characters, and then, oh, it turns out, sorry, you thought you could trust your parents, but they were just lying to you, right? Here, a prime example of the mainstream media. If you're not going to say it, I will. Santa ain't real. Okay? Neither is the Tooth Fairy. Neither is the Easter Bunny. But you put these ideas into kids' heads, and it sets them up for a future of being lied to. Wouldn't it be great if we just taught kids the truth? Like, hey, kids, you just got to be good. Period. Right? Because that's what life's all about. You don't hold rewards, consumeristic holidays, mythical creatures over their heads to make them toe the line. Moving on, man, we got so many viewers. We got so many great comments. Sorry I haven't been reading the comments. I'm just plugging away. Sorry there. Daniel Reichert confirming for me my conspiracy theory is true. Since Daniel said it, it must be true. Santa isn't real. Sorry. Okay, let's flip it around. Chrissy Hoskins, no, don't mess with Santa. You are on dangerous ground here. Actually, my kids love playing Santa now. They have never thought I lied to them. I mean, you can have your own opinion on it, but I'm messing with Santa. I am. Santa's not real. Sorry, kids. Anybody who is under the age of 10 that's watching this broadcast, if I just shook your world to its foundations, deal with it. Deal with it. Shoban Blashcheck saying, sorry, Max, fairies are real. I'm not saying fairies aren't real, but I know Santa ain't real because a big, fat, jolly man in a red suit doesn't climb down the chimney and bring everybody presents. Moving along to the business news. Sorry I pissed everybody. It's amazing what I can get away with saying, but if I go after Santa, yeah. All right, whatever. Sorry, you guys want to talk about Santa, go for it. I shouldn't even brought it up. Apparently, that's a real hot button subject here at Wake Up Wyoming. But I'm going to stick with my previous statement. Moving along to business news. Banks, tech, rally. Drug makers dive. New York. U.S. stocks rose Thursday as gains for technology companies and banks helped the market recover from losses earlier this week. However, drug makers and distributors tumbled. Okay, is this because of Trump's announcement? Just because of Trump's initiative against the opioid pushers in the medical establishment? No. Drug makers sank on reports that Amazon is taking steps to move into the pharmaceutical business by getting licenses to distribute medications wholesale. So Amazon moving into the drug pushing market. Also on Thursday, this is important, the European Central Bank said it will begin reducing the bond purchases it's been making to strengthen the region's economy. Starting in January, the bank plans to cut the size of its purchases in half to about $35 billion a month. You get that? So the European Central Bank is ponying up about $70 billion per month to buy, to fund deficit spending, to prop up the markets. Yeah. So, yeah. Scott Wren, senior global equity strategist for Wells Fargo Investment Institute, said investors were relieved the bank did not announce a bigger cut in bond purchases or take more aggressive steps. The market was a bit fearful that the ECB was going to be more hawkish, he said. That wasn't the case. How did the markets respond? France's CAC 40 jumped 1.5%. That's a big jump in one day in a country's markets. And Germany's DAX gained 1.4%. Britain's FTSE 100 added 0.5%. Okay. It goes on with this whole drug maker thing. Again, drugs losing some serious stock. Amazon reported its third quarter results after the close of trading. Its stock rose 8% on the news of its profit and sales, surpassing analysts' estimates and its move to get into the drug industry. Thank you so much for tuning in. Yeah, again, sorry, Greg Cheney. I'm going back to Santa. He's like, laugh out loud. Yeah, right? It's pretty funny. I don't know. I guess what I'm saying about Santa is it's like if you're gonna bribe your kids into behaving and being like Santa's watching, and if you screw up, you're not gonna get any presents. You're kind of foisting consumerism onto your children. That's how I look at Santa Claus. The U.S. is apologizing and paying Tea Party groups in IRS suits. They don't say how much. If you don't remember that, back in the 2012 election, the IRS targeted Tea Party groups. Again, back in 2012, the Tea Party was big. Ron Paul was big, running on the Republican ticket. They screwed Ron Paul out of his party's nomination in 2012, just like they screwed Bernie Sanders out of his party's nomination in 2016. Of course, Bernie would have won by a landslide. I'm not saying he would have done anything that really changed things, but he sure had a lot more popular support than Trump and Clinton. This is interesting. I'm going to try to interview this guy, Mark Trahant. I'm going to email him as soon as I'm done with the broadcast today. Fargo, North Dakota. A University of North Dakota journalism professor said Thursday he's quitting because the school would not let him conduct seminars on the Dakota Access Oil Pipeline protest, Standing Rock. Mark Trahant said he was put in charge of a journalism lecture series and proposed 2 pipeline protest topics that were rejected. Last year, he wanted to hear from reporters who covered the protests, and this year he suggested talking about how the protests played out on social media. Trahant didn't say specifically who turned down his request, blah, blah, blah. And he's quoted as saying, Mark Trahant, I have lived in other conservative states, and universities tend to be kind of an institutional check and balance, Trahant said, and you don't get that sense in North Dakota. Trahant, 60, is in his 3rd year as an endowed professor of journalism at the school. He is the former editor of the editorial page for the Seattle Post-Intelligencer. He also worked at the Seattle Times, Arizona Republic, the Salt Lake Tribune, Moscow Pullman Daily News, Navajo Times, Navajo Nation Today, and the Show Ban News. So I'm going to, like I said, right after I get done with the show tonight or today, like literally as soon as I hit end broadcast, I am going to email this guy and see what his deal is, see if he'll let me interview him. There's the scopes. Luckily, once we see the scopes, there's just fluff after that. Entertainment, restaurant listings, a bunch of fluffy stuff. The island of Oahu has made it illegal to look at your cell phone while crossing the street. Big sale at Tea Time Mountaineering, 15 to 60% off this weekend, Thursday through Tuesday. So if you need some gear, go see our boys at TM. Again, the guys there are kind enough to keep an eye on the skies over Jackson Hole for me and send me pictures when they're getting spread. So I appreciate that, and that's why I support their business. Right there, free advertisement for being cool. Sports, bunch of fluffy stuff. Who gives a crap about sports? Then we're into the classifieds, of course. There's about 6 pages of jobs, but no affordable places for working class Americans to live. We're into the scopes. Let me know what you want to see, and I got you. Again, sorry I'm not getting into the comments. Chrissy Hoskins saying, quick, Aries, I have to go to work. You got it, Chrissy. Sorry to keep you waiting there. Aries, 4-star, Aries, here for you too, Brian Peterson. Aries, 4-star day. You often surprise yourself with your spontaneity and impulsiveness. Friends surround you, though they have a very different agenda. A partner or a loved one comes to terms with what is going on, and he or she remains even and steady. Tonight, avoid a power play at all costs. So there you go, Brian and Chrissy. Thank you both for tuning in. As always, love you both. Brian, thank you for supporting me on Patreon. And now we're going back to the bottom here. Cancer, please, for Angie Eagle. You got it, Angie. Thanks for your patience. I know you all just wait around for me to get to the scopes, but I'm so wordy. It's amazing. I don't really talk that much, but as soon as this camera goes on, it's just 4-star day for you, Angie. Here we go. One-on-one relating is your strong suit. A romantic tie or creative idea could invigorate your day. Let your imagination wander. Carefully consider your response to a different situation. The other party involved serves as a muse in your life. Tonight, Angie Eagle, do what comes naturally. Annie Piechnia, what's up? Scorpio coming at you. Here we go. 4-star day for you, Annie. Thanks for tuning in. You will want to become more involved with a key project. You might find that you need to spend more time at home in order to handle this matter effectively. You could be asking some revealing questions. Let someone else take the lead for now. Tonight, dinner at a favorite spot. Moving along. Taurus, please. You got it, April. Hope you're doing good. 3-star day for me and you both, being the Tauruses here. Pressure builds to take charge of a project. You have a strong feeling about where this project needs to head. You have the energy and the wherewithal to find out where others stand before making a decision. A loved one's smile is contagious. Tonight, burn the midnight oil. Daniel Reichert, thank you as always for tuning in. Same with you, April. Looking for Pisces. Here we go, bro. 3-star day for you, too. You have a hunch, but you might not be ready to act on it just yet. Take some much-needed personal time. In fact, if you can start the weekend early, do. You don't always have to be so diligent. A friend might protest because he or she can't join you. Tonight, do what you want. Jerry Wallace, what's up, bro? I like your Halloween one, although they're scary. Daniel's was scaring me real bad. Yours isn't quite as scary as the vampire that he was rocking for a few days. You got a 4-star day, Scorps. You will want to become more involved in a key project, Jerry. You might find that you need to spend more time at home in order to handle this matter effectively. You could be asking some revealing questions. Let someone else take the lead for now. Tonight, Jerry, dinner at a favorite spot. So enjoy the rest of your day. Quick Aries. Chrissy, I got you already. Jaylene Berger, I just read Pisces for Daniel, so you should be covered. Brian Peterson, thank you. My first Patreon subscriber. I hit you up with the Aries with Chrissy. Here we go. Cass Bass on Santa. We're back to Santa. Santa's in the comments. When my kids believed for me, it was just about the bargaining. Santa has been helping parents for at least 4 weeks every year. You just can't take that away. That's if they believe until 10, up to 40 weeks in 10 years of a well-behaved child, 100%. All right, I feel what you're saying there, especially when you think about it. You know, we all, what do they call it? SAD, seasonal affective disorder, like the days, at least here in the northern states, well, all throughout the United States, the days get so much shorter. People get depressed. The kids are inside more because it's getting cold outside. So I get that. You know, if you want to tell your kids about Santa, go for it. I'm not, you know, I don't know. All I'm saying is that it just seems strange to me that we have to lie to them to keep them in line. And in a perfect world, we wouldn't. But, you know, you do whatever you want. You know, if you like Santa, if your kids like Santa, I guess looking back at my own life, it wasn't like a huge deal for me to find out that Santa wasn't real. But, you know, it's just like with all the illusions out there in the world, I'm wary of lying to anybody about anything. Try to tell the truth here at Wake Up Wyoming. Jeff Robertson on to Gemini, off Santa, on to the scopes. Sorry. 5-star day for you, Jeff Robertson. Your ability to see the big picture emerges one more time. Your creativity and ability to sleuth out issues emerge successfully. Avoid a friend who knows how to pressure you until you agree with him or her. You know when to say enough is enough. Tonight, think vacation. Tina McLeod, I already read Scorps for our dear friend Jerry Wall, so hopefully I got that. Jerry Ann Durbin Fairman, thank you for tuning in as always. Getting you to Sagittarius. Then we're going to do Libra for Shannon Wendrick. So Jerry Ann, here's the Sag, 4-star day. You will speak your mind, and others will hear you loud and clear. You might be a little taken aback by a friend who meets you with a strong, clear message. Maybe that was me on Santa. I don't know. Open up a discussion. Your ingenuity comes through for you when you need it the most. Tonight, just don't be alone, Jerry Ann. Have a good one. Shannon, I'm sorry that you're having a rough day. Maybe the scope is going to turn it around. Let's see. Libra, they're saying 5 stars. This just proves that you can't believe everything you read in the paper. You can be playful, flirtatious, and charming. The unexpected plays a role in your plans. Know that you cannot pigeonhole a key person in your life. Be aware of how easily you can overspend if you are not careful. Boy, that is easier than ever before in America these days, right? Avoid a controlling person. Tonight, the party starts now. Clayton Best looking for Virgo. Clayton, since we have to do scopes, they're fun. Even if they're not true, too, they kind of, in my mind, like everybody kind of enjoys them. A lot of people enjoy them. And it gets you thinking. Like, even if it's not true, it's just like, let somebody else take the lead. That's a common theme here. Sometimes this stuff pans out and works in real life. At the very least, it gets us thinking about what we're doing and kind of analyzing our behavior. So in that regard, I think it's pretty good. But I hear what you're saying. Virgo, here we go. 3-star day, watch out. This is Zachary Kuhn, Scope 2, one of our Patreon subscribers, founder of Wake Up News. Thank you, Zachary. Focus on organization and completing certain overdue tasks. You are likely to discover the power of letting others have their way, even if you disagree with them. A friend or loved one will see the results of his or her actions. Tonight, recognize when you need to switch gears. Annie, we read Scorps already. Jaylene likes the whole show. Thank you, Jaylene. Again, I appreciate people sharing their perspectives on Santa Claus. Matthew Kehoe, what's up, bro? Hopefully we keep talking about this potential advertising cooperation. I read Sag, but I'll read it again because it was a while ago. 4-star day. You will speak your mind and others will hear you loud and clear. You might be a little taken aback by a friend who meets you with a strong, clear message. Open up a discussion. Your ingenuity comes through for you when you need it the most. Tonight, just don't be alone. Again, Matthew, if you want to keep talking about the advertising, working together a little bit, keep hitting me up, man. Let's talk through this. If you got your online advertising business going, maybe we can work together and make it a mutually beneficial relationship. Wouldn't that be lovely? Siobhan, tonight you're finishing your novel. I had my first piece of fan mail come in yesterday, and I really wanted to read it, but I think it's out in the car still, so I'm going to have to save that for the next episode. Michelle Sudel, thank you so much for tuning in. I already read the Scorps. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, April. Jerry Ann, I got Sag. Pisces, 3-star day for you, Jonathan Twitty. You have a hunch, but you might not be ready to act on it just yet. Take some much needed personal time. In fact, if you can start the weekend early, do. You don't always have to be so diligent. A friend might protest because he or she can't join you. Tonight, do what you want. I read that already. Robert Miracle, thank you for tuning in, bro. Gemini, here we go. I read this one already, but I'll read it again because, people want their scopes. 5-star day. Your ability to see the big picture emerges one more time. Your creativity and ability to sleuth out issues emerge successfully. Avoid a friend who knows how to pressure you until you agree with him or her. Know when to say enough is enough. Tonight, think vacation. Jerry Wallace giving me good advice. Just leave them leprechauns alone. Angie, I will read Gemini for you. Thanks for letting us know. Thanks for sharing a little bit of your story. I hope your ex is all right and that his dying wife goes peacefully and with minimal pain. Wow, that's really brutal. So here's Gemini for you. Wish you the best. Hang in there. Your ability to see the big picture emerges one more time. Your creativity and ability to sleuth out issues merge successfully. Avoid a friend who knows how to pressure you until you agree with him or her. Know when to say enough is enough. Tonight, think vacation. So hang in there, Angie. Focus on the big picture. Matthew Kehoe, you're absolutely right there. I got several big mountains in my backyard, and I ain't sad about anything. The whole world's falling apart. Bring it on. Lindsay Sartain looking for Taurus. I already read that one, but Lindsay, since you're so sweet and you tune in from Georgia, when are you going to come up here and do my hair for me? 3-star day. Pressure builds to take charge of a project. You have a strong feeling about where this project needs to head. You have the energy and the wherewithal to find out where others stand before making a decision. A loved one's smile is contagious. Tonight, burn the midnight oil. Angie, you're very welcome for Gemini. Thank you for coming in. Siobhan saying she celebrates the winter solstice instead of Christmas. Yeah, that's cool. Jerry Ann, thank you so much. Let's see. Have a better day, Shannon. Thank you, Gregor, for all your comments today. Good to see you. April, glad you love the scopes. Thank you, Matthew. You rock too. Sean McLaughlin, okay, time to hit the man cave with a bottle of JD. Catch you tomorrow. I got a man cave too, but I prefer to call it the study. Lindsay Sartain chiming in on the Santa thing. I think it's wrong to lie to your kids. I agree, but you know, I don't know. I'm not a parent, so people, you do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? You do what you got to do. Jonathan Twitty, scopes are insightful. Daniel Reichert saying the scopes are fun. What is that? You got, damn, Jonathan Twitty, you look like a badass dude. I thought you were iced tea for just a second there, but I think you look even tougher than iced tea. Let's see. Oh, look at that. See, Clayton? I know you don't like the scopes, but we read them anyway. Daniel likes the scopes. Daniel Reichert, you're too cool. Look at those shades on this kid. Terry Hill, you like me? Thanks, man. I appreciate that. You've never seen this before, but I'll definitely watch the show more. You know, I'm trying to lock down like a straight up schedule for it. Trying to get into the habit of doing it like weekdays at 10 a.m. But it's hard to get it just right because like some days it's easy. Some days the paper is real easy. Other days it's hard. Some days, you know, I don't like setting an alarm to wake up. Some days I wake up at 5 a.m. and I'm like, go, go, go. And I got 5 hours to get this puppy ready. Other days I wake up at 9 and then I'm like, oh, better get going. And then I don't go live till noon. So, you know, I'm trying to get onto a nice set schedule. I think doing more interviews is going to help me out. Again, we got Derek Bros of the Conscious Resistance Network next Thursday. We're hoping to get Carrie Wedler, the editor-in-chief of Anti-Media. She wrote me back, said she's in. We just have to lock in a date there. So those should be great interviews. If anybody wants to hit me up with questions for these people or topics you'd like me to cover, add me as a friend, send me personal messages. Same with any news stories you come across that you think I might enjoy or our show, the whole community here at Wake Up Wyoming might enjoy or find it interesting. Some breaking news you think is really important. Add me as a friend and share it in a message to me personally because we get so many messages at Wake Up News. We have 512,000 followers now, 512,000 likes, 518,000 followers. So like right now there are literally like 50 unread messages in Wake Up News, right? We're totally volunteer. Nobody really has the job to go through and read all those messages. So if you really want to get a message to me, add me as a friend, send it to me directly. Max Mogren, MaxMogren. I'll write that out just in case anybody don't know. Bam. So hit me up on Facebook. You can even find me on email and stuff. I'll give you my email address. But, you know, generally since the show's on Facebook, I'm doing a lot on Facebook. Brian Peterson, man, look at you saving me from myself once again. Thank you so much. That's a great idea. You know what's crazy? I don't even have to get a pen because I got one sitting right here. All I got to do is cross them out. Brilliant. That's the kind of, you know, just common sense, homespun wisdom that apparently I'm lacking. And so thank you, Brian. Matthew Kehoe, thank you. We're trying to be there. Spreading the word, spreading the love. Angie Eagle, thank you. Jaylene Ferger, thanks. I think we're all everywhere. If you look at like a, I don't know, whatever. Look at like the whole universe and the interconnection of all things. Jonathan, of course, he should be your new homie. Mike Giles, thank you for tuning in. Sue Green, I think I'm in the same time zone as Boise, but I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look. I'm in Mountain Time right now. Here, the time is 12:35 p.m. So whatever it is in Boise right now, yeah. Jeff Robertson, right on. That's what's beautiful about this show too. Is you know, this is kind of a good show to like read in the or to watch in the background, or like, you know, have it just playing in the background. Jonathan Twitty, thanks. The brother survived lots of life's lessons. Positive energy, active, constant elevation. Word. I hear you there, man. Thank you so much. You know, this is a good show. This is a good show to like put on in the background while you're like making dinner or cleaning up the house, driving in the car, whatever. You know, you don't really need to see my ugly mug the whole time. Clayton Best saying, get your shit together on schedule, please. You mess up all our schedules. You know what, Clayton? That's a really good point. That's a really good point. So maybe I should just be like, hey, Wake Up Wyoming goes live at 10 a.m. every weekday, whether or not Max is ready. And he just has to wing it. I mean, you know, that might be, that gives me motivation to like step up my game, to get up early and be done early, and that gives me more time to go skiing in the afternoon. So maybe you're onto something there, Clayton. I appreciate the constructive criticism. Karen J. Bowden, what's up, girl? You're late, man. Look at that sexy profile pic, Karen. You're looking better every day, girl. Ooh, I mean, you already were looking good. Anybody out there that needs some incredible knitted and crocheted stuff, check out Karen J. Bowden. She's got a real talent for this stuff. She makes quilts. She makes stuffed animals. Yes, homemade stuffed animals. She makes all sorts of amazing things with her skills, with the yarn, with the thread, with sewing, with knitting, with crocheting, with all that. Check out Karen J. Bowden. Not only is she beautiful, not only is she well-informed, she's very talented as well. And for some reason, she sells her stuff at ridiculously low prices, like crazy low. So if you know, you need some presents for Santa to put under the tree for your kids this Christmas, hit up Karen. She'll set you up right. Jerry Ann Durbin Fairman, should we start doing the crossword puzzle together? I mean, we could, but yeah, I don't know. We need an alert when you go live. I've been getting into the habit of pre-scheduling it a little bit, Matthew, so I'll keep working on that. But I like that comment from Clayton. Put it up again because Clayton's on point. Get your shit together on schedule, please. You mess up all our schedules. Clayton, I hear that. I like. Is that a pink shirt you're wearing too? I like a man that wears pink. I wear a little pink myself. Lindsay Sartain just cracking up. I like that. Thought for today. Here we go. Jerry Wallace chiming in with some brilliance as usual. Tell everyone, instead of justifying hatred, try to be a good person. Right? So simple. Get it going. Just be a good person. Wing it. The only true news reporting. All right, Gregory. I see what you're saying. I might step it up now. What you talking about, Karen? I know that's you. Don't be lying to us. You can't get away with nothing here at Wake Up Wyoming. Karen, you're blushing. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm blushing too, Karen. I don't get to chat with women as beautiful as you that often. So thank you. Put up Jerry's post, pretty please. Which one's Jerry's? I missed it. Oh, Jerry's. Yeah, I got it right there. Boom. Thanks for that. Maybe one crossword. Man, doing the crossword together would be tough. I guess we could figure out. I could like set it down on the table and then like point the webcam at it, and we could go at it with a crossword and see how fast we could solve it as a team. That'd actually be really fun. So we'll do that one of these days, but not today. Unconditional love back at you too, Jaylene. Matthew Kehoe's calling it 100. Who killed JFK? Well, Yusuf, that was the military-industrial complex, the alphabet soup agencies like the CIA. George H.W. Bush was there. He was part of it. Matthew Kehoe saying bankers, in my opinion, yeah, the military-industrial financial complex. We got a nice little way to demonstrate them. This is what they're like. Big drill going right up your booty hole. If people find this offensive, and they find me like calling out Santa Claus offensive, but they don't think this is offensive. That's why I love you all here at Wake Up Wyoming. Greg Cheney saying do the crosswords on a wing it day. And on that note, people are all laughing. Jeff, I'm glad you like the drill, though. That's an old Halloween costume. Here's a question before we go. You know, it's kind of funny. Like, you all helped me figure out what I should do. I have an option here this weekend. Should I go? First off, number one, what should I be for Halloween? Because I'm going to dress up for the Wake Up Wyoming show on Halloween, just because why not? Life is short. Life is fun. Number two, this weekend there is a Mad Max party at the Melvin Brewery here in Alpine, Wyoming. Melvin, incredible brewery. Now, I have the option to go to that party. I'll probably make a fool of myself. Very well might crash my motorcycle. You know, could end up paralyzed or dead. Or my other option is going rock climbing down by Lander with a couple of beautiful ladies that are much stronger rock climbers than me. So what should I do? Should I go to this Halloween party or should I go down to Lander? I think I'm leaning towards Lander because anybody can be a drunken wreck at a Halloween party, but not everybody gets to go rock climbing with women that are so much stronger than they are. So I think I'm going to do that, but give me some comments on that. Also, what should we do with Halloween coming up here? What should I be? Angie Eagle saying, go with the ladies. All right, that settles it. Go live from the party. Oh, man, I'm getting such contradictory advice here. Matthew Kehoe saying, go live from the party. Jaylene Berger saying, rock climbing. Angie Eagle saying, go with the ladies. Clayton Best, he gives pretty good advice. He says the ladies. All right, I'm going with the ladies. So, you know, I'm not going to be in the studio the next couple days. I'm taking a few days off. Everybody's chiming in here. Siobhan saying rock climbing. Debbie Townsend saying rock climbing. The rock climbers have it. Brian Peterson, the man whose perspective takes precedent here at Wake Up Wyoming, says go rock climbing. So that is the plan. Once again, why does Brian have precedent? Because he was my first ever Patreon subscriber. He believed in me when no one else ever did. Please subscribe on Patreon here. Hook me up with a couple bucks a month. If you pony up for $6 a month, you get access to these videos. This is one I made yesterday while I was walking the dog out in the mountains. The second time Maisha saved my life and the first time I ever heard her bark. This is legitimately a true story, okay? Legitimate story about sailing around down in Central America when I met my dog, and the first time, I got the video already for the first time she saved my life. This is the video about the second time she saved my life, and it's true. Little teaser of the video. We were out on the ocean, crossing, well, technically the Sea of Cortez. And on our second night out, it was like a 370, 380 mile crossing. And I fell asleep the second night out there. True story. So I passed out sleeping. And this dog, this cute little dog, she's outside running around. It's funny, she'll sit around here waiting for me to get done with my live stream for about an hour. And then she's like, I'm over it. I'm getting out of here. But this dog started barking. For the first time. She'd never barked before, ever. I'd had her for a month, and she had never, ever barked before. Well, I could wake up because the dog is just going ape shit. We're in the middle of nowhere. There's no wind. There's no waves. There's no swell. It is perfectly flat. There's no moon. It's pitch black, which is the stars overhead and shimmering on the surface of the sea. And the dog woke me up and saved my life. And if you want to know what happened, well, I guess you're going to have to pony up $6 a month supporting Patreon, supporting me on Patreon. Again, I'm not trying to get rich at this, but, you know, if I could, like, clear, like, $1,000 a month, That would be sick. Then I could actually like cover my expenses and keep this show going, make it better, get more equipment. Again, if we reach our goal of $400 a month, I'm putting $100 per month towards online advertising. We've already reached our goal of $200 a month, and I have upgraded Wake Up News' hosting service to a business plan so we can more effectively reach a wider audience. And then if we hit $600 a month, I'll be doing more traveling and live streaming on the ground from the front lines. Again, this thing here is kind of a joke, but at the same time, it's kind of true. You know, this Corey Feldman thing got me thinking. And so I put up this Indiegogo campaign, the Core Newsmen's Truth campaign. We're trying to raise $10 million. Obviously, it's not going to happen, but it's just this is more than anything is designed to get people thinking. You know, Corey Feldman, God bless him, wants $10 million to make a movie exposing pedophilia in Hollywood. That's great. I hope he gets the money. But at the same time, to put that into perspective, if we could somehow work together, and I'm not even saying that I needed to be directly involved, but if somehow the independent media, the free press, could raise $10 million, we could have a loosely structured team of 100 independent journalists being supported with $100 per workday for every day they worked for a total of 1,000 days each. That means $10 million could theoretically be used to fund 100 independent journalists for about 3 years, more than 3 years, if you really think about the, you know, how many days a week somebody really going to work. Let's say an independent journalist makes videos and articles 3 days a week. Well, then they could, you know, I don't know exactly how it all work out. But the point is, $10 million is a lot of money, and you can give it to Corey Feldman, or we can figure out a better way to fund the independent media. Again, if you want to know what's going on in the world, one of my sources, you know, I'll reveal my sources. I'm really grateful this guy's out there, rice farmer in Japan, chronicling the decline of industrial civilization. Obviously, he's a bit more pessimistic than me, but that's what happens when you read the most depressing news in the world for decades and compile it into an incredible list of news stories. So on that note, I can see the audience is dwindling. You're getting tired of me. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in here at Wake Up Wyoming. I'm your host, Max Mogren, live for you in beautiful Alpine, Wyoming. Signing off. Stay active, stay aware, stay optimistic, and keep fighting the good fight, because we got this. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. One love. Peace.